So I guess if you want to do extra, then you can also clean out the inside of the tire, or inside of the wheel, just to make sure that you get all this salt stuff out. I think there was one winter where I didn't switch these to winter tires, and whatever rolled salt and stuff kind of made some damage to the wheel. So let's try to keep them clean of any salt or debris. Just wipe them down with a rag, and that way they're ready for storage. All right, guys, it's that time of the year where we get to change from summer tires to winter tires. So it's my favorite time of the year, but well, not quite, but gotta do it. You gotta do what you gotta do. So we're gonna go get our winter tires from this corner here and let them make their way on back to the car. So I think the car's got 18-inch wheels. We're gonna go down to 16. Yep, they're a lot smaller, but also narrower, which is better for winter traction. But the first thing you gotta do is wash the car. Make sure you get whatever salt you get off the car first, because you're gonna store the wheels for a while. So let's get to it. So to get this done, you're gonna need a couple tools. So hydraulic jack makes it easy to lift up the car. A piece of wood, I'll put some stuff around the tires to block it off so the car doesn't roll back. Safety first. Impact socket, I can use my socket impact wrench if I wanted to, but that's a 19mm for these tires. The socket set, and a nice tool so I can be comfortable while I do this work. One important thing to do is to loosen the lug nuts while the car is on the ground before you take it up in the air. So that way it's a lot easier, you're not trying to apply a lot of torque while the vehicle is in a slightly unstable position. So I'm gonna do that now, get those looser, and then lift up the car and then pop the tires off. Now we got the wheel off the ground. Take off some lug nuts. I already loosened a couple of them already. And then we'll swap it. I have to put this down to use 2 hands to finish the rest. One other thing I forgot to show you guys is this stuff called anti-seize or never seize. When I take the wheel off, I put a little bit around here and also around the studs. That way it gets easier to take the wheel off, because the stuff we use in the Northeast is pretty rough, and sometimes the wheel is welded onto the hub and I have to use a rubber mallet or something to get it off. So a little bit of anti-seize prevents some of that corrosion from the wheel onto the hub, and then makes it a lot easier to get things out. But once it's off, this is a good time to look at the brakes and just make sure everything looks pretty decent in the back here before you move on to the next step. One important thing to do is that when you're going to switch your tires, label your tires when you take them off the car, whether they came from the front right, rear left, etc., etc. That way, when you come back to put the winter tires on, you can rotate them. And so you get a tire rotation along with your winter tire swap. So what I did, I just put the tire next to where it's gonna go and take the summer one off and put the winter one on, and then it's rotated and ready to rock and roll. So I got my Steelies on, and then just gonna tighten it against the hub while it's up in the air. Make sure that it's secure, and then when it gets on the ground, we're gonna give it the final tightening and torque check. Make sure that everything is all set. So 1 down and 3 more to go. Front right tire next. So the tires we're running are Bridgestone Blizzak WS90s. And let's look for the DOT code to figure out how old they are. If you look at the DOT code, it's not on this side. So sometimes they don't always put it on both sides. So we're gonna flip this wheel around, see if it's on the other side. All right, so there it is. So I'll make another video what some of these things mean, but the last piece is the most important. So this car was manufactured in the 16th week of 2021. And so that's a way to know, hey, how old are these tires? Tires do expire after a few years, so you want to know the tire age when you're buying new tires or looking to see when to replace your tires, even if you don't have a lot of miles on them. It's always a good idea to tighten things in a star pattern. That way, get everything properly centered and squared onto the wheel. It's very hard to do with one hand, but this is the general gist of it. And keep going over and over again until it's nice and solid, and then when it gets on the ground, we'll do the final tightening and torque check. Of course, when you're putting the car on any kind of jack, you have to look for the jack point on the car, right? So in this car here, it's a little ledge here where you can jack the vehicle up on. But when I do the Tesla, I'll show you it has some special jack pads and needs a special low profile jack as well, because it's just so low to the ground. But make sure you jack it on the right points. That's the strongest point to lift up the car. Other points may not be a good idea. Now, one thing I wanted to point out, and I forgot to, is that when you're putting your tires on or you're rotating them, make sure you look to see the tires which can only rotate in one direction. Some tires can go in both directions, so it doesn't matter. You can swap them back to front, side to side. But some of them maybe only be back to front because of the rotation symbol. So make sure you look for that when you're done. And then now that you got all tires on the ground, you want to figure, okay, what's the final torque for these? A lot of times at the mechanic shop, these are torqued so tight that it's very hard to come off. But pretty much look in your owner's manual, and here you can see it's 80 foot-pound of torque. So that's what we're gonna put onto each wheel. And I have a torque wrench, which it's not too expensive, just got it from Harbor Freight. So it probably has a larger uncertainty in the read end, but even if you're off, I don't know, 5–10%, I don't think it makes a big deal, at least not for me. Just want to make sure that they're on well enough. And then also, you're supposed to recheck the torque again after driving for a few miles. So just to make sure that the wheels stay on. So I get my torque wrench. I set it to the torque that I want. Probably hard to read on camera, but I'll set it to 80 foot-pounds, tighten it, and then just go around each wheel. This is a click type torque wrench. So what you do, you put it on the wheel, push down till you hear a click. Once you hear that click, it's not gonna go anymore. You go back, go to the next one in the same star pattern. Just go around and do it on all wheels until you're done. So at least we know that we have a decent amount of torque in there, and it's not super tight where you could even cross the threads or damage the studs. So I'm gonna go do all the other wheels and come back to you guys. So I guess if you want to do extra, then you can also clean out the inside of the tire, or the inside of the wheel, just to make sure that you get all this salt stuff out. I think there was one winter where I didn't switch these to winter tires, and whatever road salt and stuff kind of made some damage to the wheel. So let's try to keep them clean of any salt or debris. Just wipe them down with a rag, and that way they're ready for storage. And the final step in this phase is to check the tire pressure. Most likely it's not going to be what you left it at, and it's not going to be what you need if you're putting the tires on at different ambient temperatures. So you want to check that, check the inside of your door, and that's going to tell you what the cold tire pressure should be. And you go in. So this is about 26, and these should be 32. So I'll go ahead and get some air into these guys and get it ready to go. Well, I hope this was helpful to you guys. You know, this applies to regular gas cars, EVs. Tires are tires. So if you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, have a good day. Bye-bye.